This must be quite special because home crowd, hometown, how does that feel?
Well, I'm kind of getting used to it now, but it's a little bit crazy to think I started bodybuilding I did my first competition in 1985, so I'm sure me and the guys at the little gym I was training at, Temple Gym, at that point we're never dreaming we'd have an expo like this in Birmingham. We made probably had 10 gyms in Birmingham at that time maximum, so yeah, it's amazing to be here in the hometown where it all started for me. So thanks for everybody for giving up your Saturday morning and come and listen to me. I wanted to slim down just because I wanted to do different activities, and being 18, 19 stone was not what I needed at that point in time. So I actually at some point was not training with weights. I was just doing yoga and Pilates and cycling and different things. Now I've kind of gone back to doing a bit more weight, so I combine all those things together. Because at my age I need to be healthy and functional to have a good quality of life, so that's where my training is geared now. It's not geared to, hey, I want to build maximum muscle mass. It's geared to, I want to be healthy, I want to have a certain level of strength and mobility and flexibility, all the things that give you a good quality of life. Really, that's what I'm training for now, so it's a totally different goal.
And let's talk a bit about your training. So back in the day, back in your heyday, not only were you admired obviously because of your physique, but you weren't afraid to try something different. The way in which you trained was unmatched at that time, and it was something slightly different to what everybody else was doing. Could you talk us through that?
Yeah, well, fortunately I have an inbred ability to take information from various sources and then decide what's going to work for me. So kind of an independent thinker, and even before I started bodybuilding I was reading about training, I was reading about nutrition, getting as much information as I could, which wasn't so easy then, because now you can click a button on the internet and you can find pretty much anything you want. Then we had to wait for the magazines or buy books, or I went to the library to get books on nutrition to see how much protein and carbs and fats are in these foods and do my own calculations and all this stuff. So it's a bit more effort required then. But yeah, I would try this training, the high intensity training that I was reading about, and I would keep notes, and then I would train more frequently, and I would keep notes, or I'd train less. And so by doing this, by analysing everything, I could actually see what was working, what wasn't working, and go with that feedback rather than what I read in the magazine or a guy in the gym that was older and more experienced and bigger than me. Listening to him just because he was bigger, I was able to make my own mind up. So I was using high intensity training, which was really first pioneered by a guy called Arthur Jones that built the Nautilus machines. And he's really the first guy to say, hey, what is it? What is it that triggers muscle growth? And it's the intensity of exercise, not the duration, not the frequency, but the intensity. And then this needs to be combined with that stress of intensity recovering, which obviously is time and nutrition and rest and everything like that. And I'm still very convinced it's the most efficient way to train. And fortunately now there's multiple scientific studies that are saying exactly the same thing. There was a meta study, so a lot of studies together. What's the minimum amount of effective exercise to trigger muscle growth? And their conclusion was 1 set of an exercise once a week to failure. I'm glad the scientists caught up with me, because I've been saying it for 40 years. Yeah?
Absolutely fascinating. You really clearly come across like somebody who was before your time in terms of mind strength and not just body strength. Yet your focus today is on helping people be healthy in their body. How could you use your experience and your natural strengths internally to help people today from a mindset perspective?
Well, just that. I think that I can give you, I can give you a physical routine to do at the gym. I can give you a diet and everything, but whatever you're doing, the mind is always the glue that's going to hold it together. So it's important that you know why you're doing what you're doing, why are you going to the gym, why are you putting this effort in. If you don't know, then you're not really going to push yourself to the zone because it's uncomfortable. But I'm going there for a short period of time. It's going to be over in half an hour. I'm going to push there. I'm going to push because that's going to give me the results that I want. So it's just having the right frame of mind and the right approach. And I think when people come to train with me, yeah, they learn about training. But if I have an hour together with somebody in the gym or 45 minutes or whatever it is, I show them what they can do. Everybody that comes to train with me thinks they're finished when they've done 8 or 9 reps. I'm like, no, you haven't. Do another one, do another one. And they always get a bit more. And then I say to them, you did that. You lifted that weight. I'm Dorian Yates. I'm a picture in your mind, whoever you think I am. Just because I'm shouting at you, that helped you to lift that weight. But I didn't do it for you. You did it. I just triggered something in your mind that made you do that. So now you know that you can do it. You know that next time. So yeah, that's pretty much the approach. Getting ready in my preparation for the Mr. Olympia in 1997, which was the last one I did. And during my preparation, I started to think, this is starting to feel like Groundhog Day. I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And it's starting to feel like a job. I'm starting to feel like it's not fascinating anymore. The passion is not there as it used to be. So maybe this is going to be my last one. I don't know. So the question was already there. And then later on the injury came and made the decision for me, so I didn't have anything to say about it. But I was starting to think that it was time for me to do something else. It was just a vague feeling of like I should be doing something else now. This is coming to an end somehow. So the thought was already there before the actual injury made the decision for me.
Physical characteristics that help you in your sport and so on. So you're all gifted up there. So what can separate the guy from first and second and third? It's all up there. That's the key.
How did you develop your mindset? Was that something that you always had, or was it something that you developed as you were training?
I think it's something I already had, and I kind of left home when I was 16, so I was out on my own on the street, and you know, you're either going to get smart and, you know, look after yourself, or you're going to fall down. There's nobody there to catch me. So that was there from an early age, I think. And I was just very determined to do this thing that I felt I could be good at in order to change my life and change, you know, the projection of my life, the people around me. I grew up on a housing estate in the UK. I had no education. I was in a jail when I was 18. So I had all that. That was, you know, the people around me, I was like, I didn't want part of that future. I wanted to do something else, and I got this thing that I was good at, so I'm going to take it and run with it, you know?
It's crazy how many people have similar stories.
Oh, they're like, no, that's it, that's enough. Because every set, bar the warm-up sets, you got to warm up, you know, to be safe and everything. But the real sets, I call them, we're going to go to absolute failure and even beyond with force reps, with assistance reps, maybe extra negative reps, which is something that most people neglect when they lift weights. They think, you know, I've lifted it, all right, boom, let it go down, I've lifted it. But they're neglecting the lowering part of the weight, the negative. So I get people to really slow that down, so you're taxing that part as well. And even at the end of the set, on some exercises with machines where it's practical, so you know, you can't curl anymore physically on the positive, on the contraction, but your strength on the lowering is greater. So if you did curls and you failed, I could lift the weight to the top for you, and you could lower it down for probably another 3 reps. So if you'd just gone to failure here, you wouldn't have exhausted the negative part of the rep. So my thing is I exhaust everything. It's totally fucked. You can't lift, you can't lower it, you can't lift it. It's total failure. If you do that once on an exercise, then time to move on, do another exercise.
How did you develop your protocol? Just trial and error?
Trial and error, and more about the insecurity of the guys competing. Like, why don't you learn yourself and listen to your body and I used to make notes, you know, every week I'd write down my diet, I'd write down every single workout that I ever did from 1984 to 1997 I have in a training log.
You should sell that.
I
print it.
Maybe, yeah.
Print it, put it in a book.
It's in all these little exercise books, you know, and like you can see the first one when I'm like 21 years old, it's a bit childish with the comments, but it's like, you know, I felt shit today, this was a shitty workout, never fucking let this happen again. You know, all this stuff I'm talking to myself. So I got all this, and it's I go back and look at it sometimes, and it's weird because I can go back to 1988 and I can look in my book and I look at that workout and I was like, I was in this gym and I was training with this guy, and I can even remember like what I was wearing, and I can go back in time and remember that workout.
Just from those notes?
Yeah, like every workout, as soon as I got home and I finished, I was like, hey, bench press, I did this. And every month I would make notes and I'd say, okay, this is what I'm doing now. These are my goals for the next 4 weeks. You know, whatever, like little goals, like I'm going to put 5 pounds on my bench press. But if you do that every month, then at the end of the month, at the end of the year, you got 60 pounds, right? So I did all these things like, you know, mental rehearsal, visualization, all this stuff. I did it. I kind of learned it. Nobody taught me. So that was one of the things, goal setting, writing it down on a piece of paper. You can do this with anything, your business, whatever. You're writing it down on a piece of paper. You're making a commitment. It's fucking there on a piece of paper. Every day you can look at that, and that just gives you a stronger mental vision. And instead of saying, right, I'm going to win this contest in 18 months' time. Yeah, that's cool. You're going to win that contest. But how are you going to get there? It's like saying, I'm going to sail to Australia. Yeah, it's a good idea. That's cool. But how are you going to get there? Have you got a plan? Have you got a map? Or like, fuck, you're going to go with no map? You're just going to get lost, you know? So, alcohol. Sign it. You fucking put it there on your table.
Don't just have it as a thought.
You've said that, man. You've said it. You've said it. You've made the commitment. You put it on a paper. So you're gonna let yourself down. You're gonna be a pussy. You're gonna be weak, and you're gonna break that. You made that commitment, man.
Right.
You know, it's there on a piece of paper. So that's strong. You know, he studied it, and it was like, what is it that causes muscle growth? What is it? And he found it was the intensity of exercise. And then there was another bodybuilder, Mike Mensa, who went to compete in the Mr. Olympia, won the Mr. Universe. He took those principles and he used them. So I read all this stuff and it was very logical. You know, it made sense. And then I tried it out in the gym, and it worked in the gym. And if I trained more often, or if I did more in the gym, my progress would slow down or it would stop. As soon as I cut back and I made the workout shorter and more intense, my progress went. So for me, it was pretty early on I learned how to train properly. And that's why I was competing. I competed in a world championship after 18 months training, which is pretty much unheard of.
That is pretty much unheard of. Now, when you say shorter, more intense workouts, how did you regulate that? Like, that's a huge issue with martial artists, is overtraining. They want to do more work than everybody else. They want to work harder than everybody else, and they wind up breaking their body down and showing up for the fight exhausted.
Overtraining is a big thing, yeah. And if you see the process for muscle growth is you go in the gym and you put stress on the muscle. If you put stress that it's not used to, then it's going to react. You're going to get growth, but you need to recover from that first. You don't go to the gym and grow and then recover later. That's not the way it works. You go, if you give your body some stress it's not used to, you'll get a reaction. But before you get the reaction, you have to recover. So if you're not allowing enough time to recover, I use this analogy at seminars I do. It's very simplistic, but it gets the point across. If you get a bit of sandpaper and you rub it across the palm of your hand and it's kind of bloody, if you leave it and let it heal up, what's going to happen? The skin's going to develop back a little bit stronger, a little bit thicker than before, because it wants to protect against that stress. So that's the process. But if you go and you make your hand bloody, and before it's healed up again, you go and rub it again, what's happening? You're not really getting anywhere. You're just going to have a bloody hand, you know?